Please welcome from Spring, Axel Springer, Senior Manager, Programmatic and Display, Robin Geier, and Senior Product Manager, Data, Leonard Kehl.
Thank you. Yes, thank you everybody. It's an honor to be on stage, and good talk so far, but you know, I think we're all hungry, we're running a bit late, so before we all grab a bite to eat, we wanted to tell you a little story. And the building that you can actually see behind us is the so-called Golden Tower in Berlin, the headquarters of Axel Springer. And here on the 10th floor is the so-called Build Bar, a place to have meetings, to grab a beer and connect with people. And actually Björn, sitting somewhere behind in the audience, when I joined the company back in August, was like, hey, there's this guy from the data team, his name is Leo, and I really feel that you both should meet, sit down together, and see what you can both do together. And yeah, maybe you can share some insights on who actually works in this building.
Yeah, so I do the boring German part now, maybe just explaining our company a bit. So there's not only a bar in this building, of course, there are also some people working. As Robin said, we both work for Axel Springer. That is a big company, the biggest European publisher in Europe. And we have basically two big pillars. One is news media and the other one is classifieds. Robin and me, we both work for Spring, which is the company within Axel Springer that is managing managing many different media brands. We are around 300 employees. That is not including the editorial teams, just like tech, product, analytics, and so on. And we have basically two big revenue streams. One is, of course, advertising. We sell the ad slots on our web pages. And the other one is paid subscriptions, print and also digital. And in order to generate more subscriptions, of course, we have also a digital marketing team where Robin is working in. We have a really small setup, I would say, and if you compare it to marketing teams in e-commerce, in hospitality businesses. But we have really good tech in place. And the goal of this marketing team is basically to generate paid subscriptions. Just as some background information, this is where we stand, what we do, and we'll present in a few minutes how this ended up.
Yeah. So why do we feel that was a good fit? You know, my background with working for DCMP as a consultant on the Google Marketing Platform, helping clients to onboard, but also to really utilize the Google Marketing Platform, and then joined the team at Spring to really set that up in-house. And with Leo, it was actually a bit different.
Exactly, so we basically changed roles. I'm now working more in a consulting role in a centralized data team, helping different teams across Axel Springer to utilize their data better. Yep. But before I was working at Zalando, one of the, or maybe even the biggest e-commerce fashion player in Europe, comparable to ASOS. And back then, there I was setting up programmatic campaigns for branding and performance. And I think this really helped because we know, I mean, besides we like each other, it's really nice to work together. But we also understand what the other one is doing, and this helped a lot.
Exactly, and that's where our vision actually came from, right? How, knowing all of this and the tech we have in place, having all these opportunities nowadays, how can we really transcend Axel Springer to a personalized programmatic advertising approach? And to give you a bit of background, is on the left side actually where we came from, right? We ran static ads. Display was mainly done through external agencies, and then working with that, you know, they cannot dig that deep into your business, so audiences were quite big, so it was more like a one-to-many communication. While on the other hand, we have tech in place to run data-driven creatives, to make full use of our data with our creatives. We can set up programmatic in-house, not do it with agencies. And then, of course, last but not least, the most important aspect is really personalize our advertising in the way to reach the user at the right time with the right message. And that's how we also generated our goal, basically, the month forward, starting in August, was programmatic in-house, first-party data, make use of that, and then generate paid subscriptions from that. And then a lot of keywords in here already, but first-party data for us, of course, thinking about first-party data, why is it that good to use?
Exactly, so we work for a publisher, we are a publisher. I know there's a few publishers around here as well, but probably most of you are working more in e-commerce or in another industry. And just some quick facts, what is so special when you work for a publisher? There's basically just one thing, you have a lot of traffic. These are just some numbers from SimilarWeb, so if someone is there from ASOS or The Sun, don't blame us, the numbers come from SimilarWeb. It's also not so important that the numbers are 100% correct, but just to put it in perspective. We have a lot of data, we have a lot of users that come actually daily, or a big share also just weekly or monthly, but we have a lot of data, we can go really granular with our data segments, and it would be just a shame to not use our first-party data. Yeah, there's also a big but. Because when you have so many users, so much traffic, real-time data processing costs a lot of money as well. So we also always we need to find ways to utilize and monetize the data. And this is not the only thing. Like working in the programmatic area, there's a lot of, there was a big hype, I would say the last 10 years. It peaked maybe 2-3 years ago, and recently it's now a bit more going down. I can also see it in the LinkedIn messages I get, like maybe 2 years ago there was much more than now. And what is happening? So this is something every CMO is complaining about basically at the moment. Ad tech and MarTech is eating our budget. The so-called ad tax, especially when you look at the programmatic landscape or the whole value chain between an advertiser and a publisher, there's so many different players, DSP, SSP, a DMP, a data provider, and they all take their share. And this is hitting us from both sides because we are a marketing spender, we are an advertiser in order to promote our subscriptions, but we also heavily rely on advertising money.
Yeah, maybe another problem talking about programmatic and actually working with third-party vendors, through all these pixels, they're collecting your data points, they're making use of those data points, and sometimes we really feel is also unsure, how that data is used when working with third parties. Is it just in your benefit, or are they actually using it for other advertisers as well, to say, okay, that might be good to use for them too, and therefore, it's important to keep that in-house as well, basically, right? Yeah. Another problem, big problem.
Yeah, GDPR, that's a really big thing that hit us last year that also made our lives much harder. On top of that, there's ITP. I think there's also a few sessions tomorrow about it, or even a talk later. It's something everyone is talking about at the moment. Also, the sentence, the cookie will die, is around there since years. Yeah, it's not getting easier, and I think we just need to be aware of, think about these problems, but yeah.
One more stat, and this is actually not the soccer stats from the last matches.
So what could it be? Maybe, I don't know, something where Germany is quite on top and the UK at the bottom. Any guess?
Idea?
So it's not soccer. It's not beer drinking or something. It's
the ad blocking rate
in Europe, and it's constantly increasing actually. And you're quite lucky here in the UK with just around 20%. In Germany, we are way above 30 at the moment. And this just means, with the programmatic channel, there's at least 30% we will never be able to reach. And then on top, there's ITP and so on.
Yet, looking at this, I think nobody will ever won money winning, rubbing the Buddha's belly. But, we have this, we have banner blindness. You go to a website, so many ads, you're not really engaging with them. And of course, if this is the ad, then okay, you can do clickbait, but I think it should not be our goal to do clickbait when running programmatic advertising. And I think now we talked about all these downsides of running programmatic, but,
Yeah, there's also another but. We talked about all these flaws in programmatic, but we need to be aware of, and this is really important, I think, that yes, we have a lot of problems, and if you attend conferences and talk to different people, I think we focus a bit too much on the problems. And if you look at other marketing channels, each marketing channel has its flaw. And we don't want to go in all the details here that we put there, but if you work in online marketing, I think you need to be it's not so good to be a perfectionist maybe, and you need to be aware, yes, every channel has its flaws, and by no way there's this one perfect channel with which you can address all of your users or customers, and you just need to orchestrate all the channels. They have all their flaws, they all have limitations, but the CDP really can help you to orchestrate that, and
Yeah, and maybe the biggest or the most important number for us was actually this. So 70% of the campaign performance depends on your ads. All the DSPs out there, you have a lot of targeting criteria. You can do a lot with them, but if your creative is just not looking good, your campaign is not going to go through the roof. And that really was a number where we thought, okay, hey, we need to do better. And in order to do better, we can look at our programmatic landscape, how we have it in place currently. We want to run you through each individual step quickly, starting from the left: tag management, audience management, our creative solutions, ad server, DSP, and then attribution at the end of everything. And then Leo, please start with, quick rundown on what we do on tag management.
Yeah, I think rather quick here. We use Tealium as our tag management, otherwise we would not be here. I guess you do too, or at least you're interested in. Just as a quick recap, what can you see here? It's an example data layer on one of our websites. What is happening? There's a user journey here on one of our mobile apps, and with every page event the user generates, or with every event in general, it doesn't need to be a page view actually, all the data we have in the data layer is getting streamed into audience stream, where we can utilize this data. And actually I think we can jump already to the next one, to the second part, audience management. So here we use Tealium audience stream, and what is happening there, we don't want to go too much into detail, but just some quick overview what kind of data we're currently collecting. We collect much more, but for the use case we will present, this is the focus. So we have a big pot of data that you could put under product usage, loyalty, so how often is the user coming, how many page impressions per month, how many visits. We also have a loyalty scoring in place. Then the second one is user interest. This is probably the biggest or the most important bucket for us, because we know what the user is actually reading, what he's interested in, and what he's not reading at all as well. The third one is engagement and analytics. So we as a publisher, we want to sell paid subscriptions. In order to do that, we put certain articles behind the paywall. There's a lot of articles in front of the paywall. And this metric is really important for us, because we want to know how often has the user hit the paywall, how often he has seen it, how many paywall hits he has before he converts. Is there actually some users who have tons of paywall hits but never converted? This all is interesting for us. That's why we track it. And then the last one is rather classic. I guess most of you have a similar concept, the classic sales funnel from awareness to the conversion. And yeah, we track that as well. So what is happening now in the backend? Here again, we have the user journey. All the data is getting streamed into audience stream. There we have the different attributes. If you opened audience stream, you probably notice all these batches and numbers and string attributes. So we have different data types, data attributes available. And all the data that's coming in, we can store there, or we can manipulate it, we can extract it, we can do some basic calculations. And we call it then, what we have is a real-time rule engine. So based on these attributes, we build segments, audience segments. And the nice thing here is that we stream these audience segments into our DSP. This is all happening server-sided, so there's no tag implementation needed anymore. Of course, this relies on a cookie matching service, what you see above, but this is just done once, and then the rest is happening really server to server. And the nice thing is it's coming all out of the box. You don't need to do a lot. And what I personally really like, working before at Zalando, setting up programmatic campaigns, it was quite complex to set up the targeting, because if you have a lot of audience lists and you want to do a performance or retargeting campaign, you end up with a lot of conditions in your DSP. You have and, or this user should not be on this audience list, but on this one, but not on this one, and so on. In the end, you have 20, 30 audience lists that you work with, and it's really, really easy to make a mistake there and to mess it up. And with this setup that we have in place since a few months, it's really eases the work of the campaign manager, and he can focus on optimizing instead of setting up the targeting, because this is all done now in the CDP. And another nice thing is that this is working now also across channel, right? Not only for programmatic, we can use these segments also for CRM and so on.
Exactly. And then let's quickly look at, our execution then, basically. Creative solution, we're using Google Studio, a place where we host all of our assets in terms of the creative feeds, fonts, whatever is needed. Ad server, then campaign manager, also part of the Google marketing platform. And then two different TSPs being Display Video 360 and AppNexus. And with the setup in Tealium, having all these opportunities now to build really granular audiences and a lot of audiences, we really felt that our creatives should be as granular as that as well. And then we worked with an agency from Amsterdam, and on 3 different layouts, 10 sizes with 16 dynamic elements. And yeah, most of you are probably wondering what this red square is doing there now, because that doesn't really look like a proper ad and not a dynamic one. But that basically is the backbone. So we can adjust whatever we want in terms of color, in terms of pictures, in terms of Störer, text and color combinations again, logos. Do we want to promote the apps? Do we want to use Build Connect or Build Plus, or actually change it out for Veld? Call to action, again, color and text. And then last but not least, of course, also the headline and the subheadline to target him with the message, depending on whatever the audience is that we get from Tealium. And working with this kind of setup, we really feel that also there are 3 main pillars, so to say, on why a feed-based creative like this really makes sense. Operational efficiency, right? We have one setup, we have one feed, we do all the adjustments there. We do not have to work that often with a creative designer anymore to have 500 combinations done. So that makes our lives easier and maybe even reduces long-term costs for a graphic designer. Second one is ABX testing, right? If you think about it, 3 different call to actions on 10 sizes, that's already like 30 banners. But if you really go forward, I think for our conversion, for our retargeting funnel alone, we had 1,000 different combinations live, testing out for each and individual audience, what might be the best picture, what might be the best call to action to really get him engaged, get that CTR up, and then of course try to convert him. And then, last but not least, personalization. I guess we mentioned that. And we also brought a couple of examples that we want to show you. So our first one, this is Carrie. She's a cart abandoner. She saw the registration page, and she's actually on desktop. So we show her a message telling her, finish the registration, get exclusive content. Here's 50% off in the first year. And since she's on desktop, we actually also show her that desktop and not a mobile phone and the page she's just seen. Second user, this is Alex. His interest is in soccer and the team HSV, which is a Hamburg soccer team. He's a heavy user and he's only on mobile. So we then again show him a creative promoting actually our app to convert him through the app since he's a mobile-only user. But the message is targeted in the way that you can see on top. This is actually the logo of the HSV, and Meine Perle is basically a saying from Germany when you're interested in that soccer team. So he can really relate to that banner again, and we reach him with that message that's interesting. And then last but not least, this is Carl. He has not a defined interest yet because he's just an occasional visitor to our website, but he's on desktop. And then we can show him the best converting articles that we have in real time from our web pages on the ad to get him engaged again, get him on our website, collect more data on him to then again show him one of the first or second banners depending on wherever he is in that funnel. And then of course, at the end, the value chain is attribution. I think this is might be a rather complex setup, and then when you talk about, last click attribution, I think we've done that for the last 10 years. So we work with 2 service providers, being Exec and Attribution, to really work on multi-touch attribution and understand each and individual marketing channel better, where sits display within that funnel, and I think that's basically it.
Yeah. Exactly. So this looks, or what we just saw, looked more like a linear process, but actually, in our view, it's not really a linear process. And not only does this loop look much nicer, it also makes sense, we think, because we have historically also these 2 parts of marketing: customer retention. Yeah, for you it's also on this side. No, on the left. Sorry, customer retention and customer acquisition. And maybe a CDP is historically coming a bit more from the customer retention part, but what we really saw with starting programmatic in-house based on heavy first-party data and not using third-party data anymore, that the CDP is sitting in the middle, do this ID mapping and centralizing everything. There's really a lot of potential also for the other part of this loop, the customer acquisition.
So programmatic literally sits then on every individual step, right? We don't have to do it on customer acquisition anymore, getting that data from Tealium when he starts converting, or we have that email address. We can map that out, but really get him also going on retention side, so our CRM teams can actually make use of whatever we done, and then still give him that targeted message you would do in CRM, basically.
And we really see that it's bringing people together that were maybe teams that were not working so close together before. Now that they have this common data source, it really helps to align the people. But actually, we could have put another but.
We could have,
but maybe the joke is saying again too lame.
We really feel it's not a customer data platform in that way anymore, right?
Exactly. And it's also maybe a bit lame to leave a marketing conference without a new buzzword, without a new abbreviation no one else understands but you. So there we go. We have a new one for you.
It's actually the user data platform that we work with. Thank you very much. Enjoy lunch.